Gamers, how's it going? Master Duel Central. So today we're going to be talking about this basically brand new deck. Well, not really brand new, but we got some really strong Lightsworn support. And so Lightsworn Tier has become a very real deck in Master Duel. As I tend to be on this channel, or at least as I try to be on this channel, I'm going to be completely honest. This deck isn't really... It's not really as good as I was hoping it would be, or as I thought it would be from my testing in yugioh Omega. Now, there's like two possibilities here. One of them is that I'm correct and this deck isn't as good as I had hoped. Or second is that I'm just not good enough at Tearlament to make this deck as good as it should be. So this is the list I landed on after testing so many different ratios. Yesterday I was playing pretty much all day because I was for sure that this deck was great and that I was just the one playing poorly. So as you can see here, we're basically running no hand traps, going all gas. I am now running 3 droplet, mostly because I found that going second for this deck, despite all the gas, is really rough. And I think a big reason for that is that going first turns in Master Duel right now are insanely overbearing. So yes, going first, this deck will almost always win. You set up like a ridiculous amount of interruption. The new punishment dragon that you can easily set up will net you an ability to basically shuffle absolutely everything in both graveyards and banish piles. You'll usually set up a snow in the grave. You can go into 0 Boros on opponent's turn with IP if you want to do that, and then just like banish their entire field. You can set up 3 or 4 negate Appaloosa pretty darn easily. Curious is easy to make with a 1-card combo using the Snake Eyes engine. There's like a lot of things going for this deck, but at the end of the day, from my testing, I haven't performed great with it. Going second, like I said, has been really, really rough to a point where I decided to add Forbidden Droplet because it's just like the boards are overbearing. But because it's a 60 pile, the odds of drawing that droplet are not super high. But I think if you're playing a 40 pile, you're kind of lacking gas. And then like if you're playing a 40 pile, you might want to start running hand traps and instead focusing on more conservative plays. And at that point, I feel like I don't even know if it's worth it to run like the Lightsworn variant of this deck. You might be better off just playing like Tier Cash or something like that. And that's really sad to say because I really did think that the Lightsworn engine would be the best version of Tearlament. There's also the fact that the Lightsworns can definitely brick up your hands. Like Wolf is always a bad draw. Felis is always a bad draw. This card half the time is a bad draw. And Lightsworn Dragonlink is probably the least bad one because at least later in your combo, if you get a Lightsworn in the grave, you can special summon Dragonlink from your hand and send a Lightsworn card to the graveyard. So it's not all bad. And honestly, I don't even think this deck is bad. I thought it would be like the best version of Tier. Hard to say because also I think it might have to do with skill on some level. As you can see, we are also running the tech that Jesse Kahn ran at the World Championship. Shout out Jesse Kahn, by the way. W for Canada. Appreciate the W for Canada. We really needed one. So yeah, we're running the Dotscaper with the Lingaribo. This has outed Ibli once for me, and that was very satisfying. But obviously, as you can see here, the extra deck is really tight. We only have 1 rank 8, so we can't like set up a Photon Lord. Only have 1 rank 4. I went for Dugares. Minerva's good, but Dugares can really like save your hand or like give you that extra bit of gas that you need. But then we have like 3 Synchros. It's really easy to hard summon Savage in this deck, so I don't really recommend running Baron de Fleur because yeah, this Trudeau is cool, but this deck will like just shit out rank 8s, level 8 Synchros so easily, so you're probably better off running this. And you can have Jet Synchron also since you're running a Snake Eyes package, and you can use that to just like get your Jet Synchron in place, so it's got nice synergy there. I'm not even running all 3 Tearlament fusions. At first I was, it's just the extra deck space is super tight. I've considered removing SP for it, but then your IP becomes way worse, so then I consider removing IP for it. But then the 0 Boros play is kind of like iffy because you don't really want to summon 0 Boros on turn 1. You kind of want to make it with IP on turn 2. So with that being said, I still collected some really good replays, and I could also show you, I guess in solo mode after the replays, I'll show you like how the Lightsworn engine helps out the deck, because it is a really, really strong engine if it gets going, and it just gets so much milling done and sets up a lot for you. So it's a really, really strong engine. But enough yapping. I talked a lot about the deck in the introduction, so we're gonna go check out some replays. I'll show you in solo mode the Lightsworn engine in action, and then I'll give you the card by card at the end, as we usually do. Let's get into it. All right, so first off here, we're gonna show you a replay going second against a very, very established finished Voiceless board, basically full ceiling Voiceless board, and I love body bagging. I love sandbagging on Voiceless. So yeah, we're gonna be doing that here. Top of Rogue Voiceless, by the way. All right, so they're going for a Pot of Extravagance, activating Barrier of the Voiceless. We're going to fast forward a little bit here, grabbing a Saphira. We have no hand traps, of course, and they're going to be sending the Saphira to the grave, grabbing a Skull Guardian Saphira in the grave to ritual summon the Skull Guardian. Then they get to trigger the low in the grave to special summon it out. They get to search another low with the Skull Guardian. Low is going to set up Blessing. They're going to summon the low to trigger the Blessing and summon out the Odd Eyes Pendulum Graph. Then they're going to add back the low, set a couple of cards, one of which is obviously the trap. Yeah, we're going to move on to our turn here, and we've got a ton of gas. So we're going to start off here with Mseti, discarding the field spell because I already have King Sarcophagus in my hand, so don't really need the field spell. And I'm going to go King Sarcophagus, special Mseti. They're going straight for a Ceravis, and then they're going to trigger the low in the grave, special summon it. They don't set up the trap, which tells me one of these two sets is that. Then I activate King Sarcophagus, discarding, I forget what I discarded. I discarded the Sinful Spoils because I couldn't target anyway, and the back row is full regardless. And then I discarded my second King Sarcophagus just to bait them into using their trap. I really wanted them to use this, just to clean up some space on the board and get rid of some of their interruption. I think they still have their Omni Negate, so here I go Thrust to bait their Omni Negate, and they do go for it. And at this point, we have one card left to activate, and that would be That Grass Looks Greener. So we're going to be sending a bunch of cards to the graveyard here. A ton of activations in the grave. We're going for Sharon, Dragonling, going for the Wise, going for the Dot Scaper. So we get to set Aegis, we get to go Dot Scaper, we get to go Dragonling, search the punishment, special Dragonling with Wise, summon Kit Kalos. Kit Kalos going to trigger. We're going to trigger Dragonling on summon. They're going to negate the Kit Kalos. With the Dragonling, I'm going to send our tuner here. And then we're going to go into a Minerva. Minerva on summon would trigger, but they're going to negate the summon. I'm going to chain Snow. I thought I could banish this, but I can't because it technically wasn't summoned yet. So anyway, we're going to go Snow targeting Meteor Burst. They're going to negate with Ceravis for no good reason. We're going to go for our Shuffler here to get rid of their Ritual spell in the grave so that they don't get to float. Then we're going to go into Linkuriboh, and we're going to make a pretty classic play for this deck. So here we get a draw with Wanted. I'm going to go for Snow yet again. Banish a couple of cards, summon the Snow. Make a Topologic Zeroboros. I trigger Snow, I'm about to banish the whole field, summon Snow where Zeroboros points to, and we're gonna banish everything, but they just scoop it up. That's like an ideal scenario for your deck going second, but as you can see, like I had a pretty cracked hand. We were essentially destined to win that, but let's move on. All right, so here we're going first, and what a surprise, I have Grass again in the replay that I chose. Isn't that crazy? So we're gonna go charge the Light Brigade, grab the Lightsworn Dragonlink, go for Bonfire, grab a Snake Eye Ash, activate Snake Eye Ash, and we're gonna grab Poplar. Here I'm just gonna show you basically the Snake Eye one card combo that nets you into Curious. That's a very, very important combo for this deck. So with Poplar, we go into Linkuriboh, then Poplar goes to the back row. After that, we can go for Snake Eye Ash effect using these two to go to the grave and make ourselves a Flamberge, summon it right from the deck, go into a Verte Anaconda, and then we're going to get to trigger the Flamberge in the grave, summon two from the graveyard. Verte can make one of them dark, and Linkuriboh tributes one of them to summon himself. And that makes for 3 darks with different types, which allows you to go into Curious, and Curious equals winning pretty much with this deck. So we're going to go Curious here, send a couple of cards. We don't even use our Grass this turn, by the way, even though we have it, because, I just decided to show you the one card combo with Snake Eyes. And either way, we have so much gas here that we don't even really need the Grass that looks greener anyway. So we're going to go into a Minerva here. Minerva is going to trigger. We're going to send 2 Lightsworns to the grave. We can trigger the Wise in the grave, targeting Dragonling. Dragonling trigger to search the Punishment Dragon. And Punishment Dragon is really cool, this card. If you have 4 banished Lightsworns with different names, by the way, very important that your 4 banished Lightsworns are different names, it can special summon itself basically for free. Then it has a quick effect of paying 1,000 life points to shuffle both graves and banished piles into the deck, except for Lightsworn monsters. This is really, really strong, especially like, if you have it backed up with another shuffler. It's like your opponent is not going to be playing much with their graveyard. So I like that effect. And also, something to point out, so the way you get your 4 names banished is because Minerva can banish Lightsworn monsters, up to 4 Lightsworn monsters in the grave, to send 4 cards from the top of your deck to the grave. And the thing that's really, really cool is that even if they negate Minerva, the banish 4 is cost. So just keep in mind, if you're able to get 4 Lightsworn names, different names by the way, in the graveyard and they like imper Minerva on summon or something, you can still activate Minerva, banish 4, and even though you won't get a mill, you'll at least get your materials to special punishment. I just wanted to point that out. Either way, Dragonling, normally I'm sending the Aegis. That's like an omni-negate while I control a Lightsworn on the field, you know, so it's kind of nice to have. And we're going to make ourselves a 2-material Appaloosa, Bow of the Goddess. I'm going to go for Minerva, you know, banishing 4 to mill 4. We get to trigger the beast here, the wolf, and we activate Walls. Walls is going to search for an Imseti. Then we're going to go and put back Grasslook Screener because we don't need it this turn at all. We're going to go for Original Sinful Spoils to summon Jet Synchron here, and I'm going to summon out the Diabell Star, setting the Wanted. Then we can go ahead and make ourselves a Savage using that Synchron as well as Diabell. So, you know, we have a 3 counter, I mean, Savage. We can go for Snow in the grave here, banish 7 cards, summon the Snow, make IP Minerva, my bad. I thought I made IP here. We're going to go Minerva, send a couple more cards to the grave, Punishment Dragon, then procs. We get to trigger the Tier Cache, and I didn't get what I wanted, so I go for Snow again. And, you know, I really wanted to get into my tier place here. I just got unlucky. Basically, I didn't get to make a Kit Kalos, so instead I make an IP. And basically what this means is that on opponent's turn, I could make myself a Zero Boros using IP, and then I could summon a Snow where the Zero Boros points to, and that would banish the entire field. So if they get through all my interruption, we have that last resort, and otherwise, obviously, I could just go SP Little Knight and get a strong interruption. Other than that, we have 1 Omni-Negate with Aegis because we control a Lightsworn monster, and we also, well, Wanted doesn't really do much. We have an Omni-Negate, 2 Monster Negates, and shuffle everything from the deck into the grave. Not to mention, of course, 2 Snows in the grave and a Shuffler. So pretty damn good board. Pretty much like as high ceiling as you can get without touching your Tearlament cards. And you don't even really need the Tearlament cards. They basically just set you up a Roll Kalos in this deck. So, I mean, I'm really happy with this board. My opponent goes for Pot of Extrav. I'm actually just going to negate their Pot of Extravagance. I don't want them getting any draws here. You know, I don't like... I'm a guy that negates Pot of Greed. I really don't like seeing my opponent draw 2. Then they go for Preparation of Rites. They're going to activate Blessing. They're going to go Called By on Snow. I'm just going to chain Snow and put her on the field. I think I was low on time. I banished my other Snow here accidentally, but, you know, it's fine. They're going to go for Thrust. I'm going to negate Thrust. This was a mistake. I should have waited and negated whatever they search with it. But either way, they went for draws here with Talents. It's really not the end of the world. Now they're going to go for Prayers of the Voiceless to summon out the Skull Guardian. At this point, they're going to trigger Skull Guardian. Of course, we're going to negate it with Appaloosa. And they're actually going to Ghost Ogre our Appaloosa. Now, I feel like I should have chained IP here. This is a misplay in retrospect, but, you know, it is what it is. So either way, I'm going to activate Punishment Dragon here just to, like, shuffle all their stuff back after they search Cerevis so that they can't summon it. And it also stops them from, like, having that float effect off of their ritual spell. And here they make a massive misplay. They summon Dynamondo. Literally the worst thing you could have done here, because at this point, we're just going to be able to go Punishment Dragon if they activate Dynamondo and shuffle everything back. So we don't even care. And we don't even need to do that because we just negate it. So, yeah, I don't know why they went Dynamondo there. To be honest, it was kind of hopeless for them. And I just realized that was another replay sandbagging Voiceless. Very sorry to the Voiceless players. I need to stop doing that. All right, now for this one, I'm going to show you a duel where I lose. And, you know, maybe I should be doing this more often in my deck profiles. But this is me going second. And I just want to know, like, if it's a skill issue or if the skill issue was just losing the coin flip. Because I really do feel like turn 1s are getting really overbearing in this game. And I really tried so many builds for this deck. Going second just has felt really like you just don't have enough for how much interruption people are putting up right now. So, you know, this duel is just to kind of see, like, is it me? Am I crazy? My opponent has a 60 pile here. They're starting off with Perlerino going Scream. Then they're going to summon out their Sharon, discarding a Yubel, by the way. They get to trigger Meta Noise. They get to trigger a bunch of stuff. Add back the Tier Cache. Go into a Kit Kalos. You know, mill a couple of cards. Tearlament Kit Kalos here. They get to go Rainbow Bridge and Grave, by the way. Add Nightmare Throne. Very cool. Very epic, dude. Here we go. Tier, activate, summon the Kashtira. You know, mill like 8 cards. They're going to activate the Nightmare Throne, grab Samsara, summon Dark Beckoning Beast, grab the Continuous Spell, shuffle 2 back to summon Phantom, and then they they use their second normal summon to summon Samsara. Samsara summon the Spirit of Yubel. They activate Nightmare Pain, pop Spirit of Yubel, grab Squirmer, special summon out Yubel, and trigger the field spell to summon Yubel Part 2. Then they're going to go ahead and make themselves a Cross Sheep. They're going to summon out the Squirmer, popping the Yubel to summon Yubel Part 2. Then they're going to go for an IP Masquerena. They're going to summon out a Phantom. They're going to go for Cross Sheep, summoning out the Sharon, make an Appaloosa, bring back Samsara, which is an extra monster negate while you control a Yubel, summon out the Yubel. And yeah. So we've got a set card here. We've got Yubel plus Samsara, which means Samsara is going to come back. So this is a 1 monster negate, 2 monster negate. So 5 monster negates, an IP Masquerena, and a set card is you know, it doesn't seem like too crazy, but it is pretty crazy depending on the hand you have. You know, our deck is pretty dependent on using monster effects at the end of the day. Even if they let all our spells resolve, if they can negate every monster effect we activate, we kind of just can't play. So we go for a Charge of Light Brigade first, and we go Dragonling. And I don't even know what I was trying here. I was just trying to bait all their interruption and just trying to make something work. And I wasn't really seeing something that was going to work here. I have like Imseti in hand. Walls of the Imperial would get me into another Imseti. Tearlament's Grief is going to get negated, obviously, by Appaloosa. So here, what I did, I sent a Tear Cache. The reason for that was just because I was kind of coping, right? Because I was like, okay, if I send like Sharon or if I send like Havness, they're going to negate it 100% of the time. If I send Tear Cache to mill 3, maybe they'll think it's a bait and they won't negate it. But yeah, I was kind of on copium here. I was just kind of like huffing copium, trying to make something work. Obviously, nothing's working here. So they do negate it. By the way, I do want to point out they have a Shuffler in the grave right now also. So like we're like absolutely down bad. So anyway, we activate Sharon in hand here. They're going to negate it with their Samsara. They still had a bunch of monster negates. They were going to negate Imseti. That was my next activatable that I had access to. There was really, I feel like there was nothing I could do. And, you know, that's the way with card games sometimes. You can't do anything. But, you know, from what people have been telling me, at least in my Discord, the best way to play like a tier pile is to run like no hand traps, right? And just all gas. And I'm not super convinced. But if I was running a bunch of hand traps, I definitely would have less gas, and then I couldn't play through as much. And our hand traps really going to make that big of a difference against a deck that has insane gas like this. Like maybe going first just really is overbearing right now. So I just wanted to show that, and let me know if you think that was a skill issue on my part, because that was a lot of my duels where I'm going second. I have a bunch of gas in hand. Like my hand was not bad at all. Had a bunch of gas, but my opponent's board is just like. It reminds me almost of like a Drytron board from back in the day. Now we're going to go to solo mode. I'm going to show you the Lightsworn engine in action, and I really don't mean to be too negative here. I do think the deck is good, and the Lightsworn engine is really solid. It's just a really strange format where it feels very coin flip dependent for certain decks, and I think I'd rather be playing a deck that has less of a hard time going second, or that plays more hand traps, but that might be a build issue too at the end of the day. So anyway, let's go to solo mode. All right, so this is a pretty perfect hand to show the Lightsworn engine in action. So very simply here, we're going to go for King Sarcophagus. We're going to activate it to just put the wolf in the grave. And now that we have a Lightsworn monster in the grave, basically, we can trigger our Dragonling. So we can go Dragonling effect, summon it, and it's going to allow us to send a Lightsworn card to the graveyard. So in this case, you'd want to send Felis to get yourself a tuner. So Felis is going to trigger since it was sent to the grave from the deck by a monster effect. You get yourself a tuner, and now you can summon the Minerva with 2 Lightsworn monsters. And Minerva can send Lightsworn cards from deck to the grave up to the number of Lightsworns that were used as material. So here you can go like Minerva chain block with Dragonling if you really want your Punishment Dragon, or you can do the opposite if you really want your mill too. Usually I'm chain blocking the Minerva just because I really don't want to see Minerva get ashed. Punishment Dragon's a nice bonus, but I more so care about getting all my advantage from this engine. So here, for the cards you can send, they have to be different types. So since both of these cards are Beast Warrior, you only get to send either a Felis or a Wolf. Now, you want to make sure to get all your names in the grave. We already have Wolf, we already have Felis, we already have Dragonling, so we're definitely going to send a Wise, and we're going to send another card here. We can send Wise and Felis, let's say. So send these two. Now we can add Punishment with the effect of Dragonling, and we get the effect of Felis, as well as the effect of Weiss in grave. If Weiss is sent from deck to grave, it can target a different Lightsworn monster in the grave and special summon it. We're already going to get a Felis, which is a tuner, so you probably want to get a non-tuner on the field here. Not that it matters, because we're going to be making Visas Samsara here, which, well, not Samsara, I mean Amritara, which can be made with 2 tuners, you know, just keep that in mind. But anyway, summon this out, and now we can get into our tier engine using Amritara. Make ourselves an Amritara, And this will get you into your tier package because you can go Visas Amritara and you can grab the Planet Perlarino. Some scenarios, if you already use your normal summon, you might actually want to grab Tearlament's Grief instead. It's going to also depend on what you got in the grave, you know, or in hand. So here we go, Perlarino. At this point, you pretty much know what's going on, right? We haven't used our normal summon, so we can grab a Rhino Heart, which is pretty much the best normal summon in the deck, I would say. We can normal summon the Rhino Heart, activate Rhino Heart effect. And from here, you know, it's basically history. We can send the Havness. I like sending Havness first, just because you have higher odds of milling your Sharon since you have more copies of it. So I prefer going for Havness first, making a Kit Kalos here, using these two. And I mean, I don't know if I really need to show you, like, this is going to take forever. This is really going to take forever. You have like so much gas when you get all your engines. You know, you go tier cash, add to the hand. I like to send it straight to the grave. They can't bestial it, right? So I like sending the tier cash straight to the grave. Maybe I get some more names. Here we got our Jet Synchron, which could be nice later. We'll see. But either way, we're going to activate the Tearlament's Kit Kalos here. Send herself, sorry, and the Kashtira. Summon it to the field. We get to mill 8 here. We always chain block the kit with the tier cash. So tier cash, mill 3, resolve. Thank you, game. Appreciate it. Send 3. All right, perfect. And then we send 5. We did get our Aegis in the grave, which is nice. Aegis is going to be an Omni-Negate while we control a Lightsworn monster. And we can also go for the graveyard effect of Rainbow Bridge here. Banish it. Add the Turtle to our hand as well as the Horus Field spell. Not that we need it, but might as well. It's extra advantage. It's extra discards. It's extra fusion materials. You know, there's a lot you can do with it. Very cool. We get our Lightsworn Aegis here. And now that we have tier cash on the field, we can actually go for Jet Synchron. Jet Synchron, since we got lucky and milled it. You know, discard the Tortoise. Get Jet Synchron on the field. Yeah. We don't have a Link yet in the grave, however. I'm going to activate Snow. And, you know, we can banish a couple of cards that we don't really need in the grave. We don't even need Trivia Karma at this point. We can banish, I'd say, the Tortoise at this point. We already used our trap. We can banish this. And let's banish, honestly, another thing you could do is just banish some like Lightsworn names, but because you want the 4 banished anyway for your punishment, but we are better off using Minerva for that. So we're just going to use the one that we have multiple names of, and also Imseti, since we have one in hand that we can get in the grave for the card there. So yeah, I know we're playing Solitaire here. Very sorry about that. Okay, so here, like, you could do, there's a couple things you could do. Like, honestly, I would probably just go for a Verte here. So we can make like Verte using Amritara. Not really useful on the field anymore. Not super useful on the field. You know, you can special out your Happy. We can activate King Sarcophagus, discard the Imseti. And by the way, the reason Verte is useful in this deck is because you can make Curious with it. I already kind of showed that earlier. But I guess I can give you an example here. So anyway, we'll summon Imseti. So like Imseti is a dark, right? You could go like Verte, target a face-up monster on the field, make him dark. And then, you know, you have 3 darks of different types on the field. So now you can easily go into a Curious. You can do this with the 1-card combo line of Snake Eyes, or you could do it using the Imseti engine. Sometimes it's useful. So anyway, let's make Curious using these 3. We don't really even need Curious at this point, by the way. Like, there's basically no reason to do it other than like getting a Rule Kalos on the field. So I guess we'll do it just for the Rule Kalos. So we already used this one. We can send a Sharon. As you can see, like, we already searched both of our field spells. There's like nothing too crazy to send at this point from deck to grave. You could also just send a Black Goat Laughs to get the graveyard effect of Black Goat Laughs. Honestly, like, that's a really good card. But let's just go for a Rule Kalos here. So we'll send the Sharon. Then we get to trigger that. We get to go for Sharon effect, you know, to summon our Rule Kalos. We're going to get our Rule Kalos on the field. Sorry, dude, these combos take forever. I'm so sorry. I hope that hopefully the video is not too crazy long. So summon Rule Kalos. We're going to get to mill a couple of cards. We don't need that effect at all. Thank you. Do we have a lot of stuff that's banishable? Wait, hold on. Let's just do Minerva right now. Just get it out of the way. So make sure to banish all different names with your Minerva. Yeah, you get to mill more cards. That wasn't too crazy, nothing too crazy, but we do get to go for Snow here. It's a pretty safe time to Snow. And keep in mind, it doesn't really matter as much what you banish with this deck, just because you can shuffle it all back. So, you know, like, for example, like the Snake Eyes engine or an Imseti or something like that, like, that's not really going to hurt you much to banish these cards. So don't worry about it too much. Just make sure to keep your cards that are like activatable in grave or stuff like that. I guess I can like remove Amritara. Like, that's literally useless in the grave. But yeah, just keep that in mind. And yeah, with this Snow here, we can use these 2 and make ourselves like a 2-material Appaloosa just to get that Curious in the grave. So we'll use this as 3 materials. I often ended up making a 2 material Appaloosa with this deck, probably because I play Aesir. And also, like, I want to use Curious as a Link 3, you know, so that we get full value from it. So anyway, at this point, now we can make our Savage using the Jet Synchron as well as the Tear Cache. So we make that. We'll get to grab the Curious in the grave, which is nice, you know. Activate Savage. Grab the Curious in the graveyard. Very good, very good. We can special out the Punishment Dragon. There he is, and that's going to be, you know, a way to shuffle back everything in the banish pile other than Lightsworn monsters and everything in our graveyard. We have basically enough to activate the Fairy Tale Snow once, and I don't know if I played this hand exactly optimally because I started off just wanting to show you just the Lightsworn engine. But yeah, the Lightsworn engine does get the ball rolling a lot of the time for this deck, so I think this is a very respectable board, right? We can't really hate on it. I'm not going to show you the full replay. We don't need to duel the bots to show you that this board wins going first. Yes, this deck, if it goes full combo, it's pretty good. So I think we can just move on now and just go do the card by card finally. All right, so I don't want to take too long on the card by card, so I'll give you like my closing thoughts really quick. All in all, I do enjoy this deck when I'm going first. And if I can, you know, squeeze my way into winning the game going second, it's extremely satisfying. But I don't think this deck is as good as I said it would be. And so, you know, I wanted to correct myself, or at least if it is, I'm just not good enough for it at the end of the day. It's one or the other. I tried so many builds for this deck. I do like this build. I think this is a really solid build. I tried with Max C. It didn't feel too good, and oftentimes I would draw Maxi going second, and then like it's like that was like the missing piece of gas I needed. I tried with Ash, and you know, like, yeah, negating Maxi is really good. Maxi is actually like a lot better against this deck than your average tier build, just because of the Lightsworn engine summons so much. So Maxi actually beats our deck quite hard. So Ash was pretty good, but it never really did enough as the one hand trap you run, so I didn't really love it. It didn't have high enough of an impact. I tried with Necroface. I'm not doing that. I don't like it. So Necroface is out of the question for me. And then I landed on Droplet, and Droplet has saved me going second in a couple of scenarios, but it is a 60 pile. The odds of drawing it are pretty low compared to running a 40 deck. So, you know, it's like, it's cool, but it doesn't necessarily save you all the time going second. But anyway, I'm not saying the deck is bad or anything. I'm just a bit disappointed with the deck, I guess, or my performance with it, one or the other. But it's time to move on. So let's just do the card by card. We have one copy of Jet Synchron, one copy of Dotscaper, one Snake Ash, double Poplar, the Crystal Beast, Emerald Tortoise for our Bridge of Salvation. We have Havness, 2 copies of Wolf, 2 copies of Felis, 2 copies of Fairy Tale Snow. If you have a third one, I would run the third one. I just don't have one. I don't want to craft it. 2 copies of Sharon, 1 copy of Rhino Heart, 1 copy of Mudora, double Dragonling, double Wise, 1 copy of Tear Cache, triple Yubel Star, 1 copy of Punishment Dragon, 1 copy of Flamberge, triple Imseti, 1 Happy, triple Left Arm Offering, triple Charge of the Light Brigade, 1 copy of Foolish Burial Goods, 1 copy of That Grass Looks Greener. We have the triple Tactics Talent, Tearlament's Grief, triple Tactics Thrust at 3, 1 copy of Sinful Spoils of Subversion, 2 Bonfires, 1 Original Sinful Spoils. We have Planet Pearl Reno, Walls of the Imperial Tomb, 2 King Sarcophagus, 3 Droplet, the 1 copy of Wanted, the 1 Rainbow Bridge, the 1 Terrific Karma to search our tier field spell. The Black Goat Laughs is a really good discard, a really good mill, and a really good set. I like this card. It's really insane. It's this brand new trap card. If it's set, its effect is to make it so your opponent can't special summon a specific name. So, for example, if they like normal summon Samsara, you could go Black Goat Laughs and then declare like Phantom of Yubel, and then they don't get to use Phantom of Yubel for that turn. So that's really, really good. And in the graveyard, you can also negate a monster card name for the rest of the turn. So, for example, if you're playing against Pearly and they pass on an X-Pearly Noir, you could use Black Goat Laughs early on and, I don't know, like negate X-Pearly Noir, so they can't activate it. Even though the monster's unaffected, it says that the player can't activate the effect, so that way you can like set up your stuff and potentially just beat over the X-Pearly Noir. So that's a pretty good example. 1 copy of Aegis, if you mill this card, it sets itself and then it negates cards on the field up to the number of Lightsworn monsters you control. It's kind of like a budget version of that Nordic continuous spell. I know, Nordic mentioned on MDC, right? Crazy. But yeah, it's a pretty good card. Like, this is probably what I would replace if I had a third Snow, but I really like this card, so you know, I make it part of the game plan. In the extra, we have Tier Kit Kalos and Ruled Kalos. I would love to run the third name, but I don't know what to remove. Honestly, you can mess around with this extra deck a lot. Like, I would probably run the third name and remove Linger Rebo if Ibli wasn't such a thing right now in the game. But yeah, we have Savage because it's so easy to summon. Amritara kind of glues the Lightsworns and the Tearlament cards since you can search your field spell with it. Minerva, obviously, the mills are really useful, and you know, it sets up your punishment, etc., etc. Dugares, we have a Zombie Vampire, a copy of Linkaribo, one Lingaribo for Ibli, IP Masquerena, Verte Anaconda for the Snake Eyes one-card combo to get into Curious very easily, SP Little Knight because it's a really good target for IP, Appaloosa because it's a big part of your end board going first, and Zero Boros because it's a really big blowout play on turn 2 or on turn 3, you know, depending on the situation. It's just a really strong card to, you know, close out the game or like simplify the game state to a point where you're very likely to win. So yeah, Zero Boros, Summon Snow, one of the best combos this deck can do, honestly. Very insane. And yeah, that's it for my budget Lightsworn build, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. It's pretty disappointing to me that I'm not more excited for this deck. Like, I was really enjoying it when I was testing it out before it came out. So you know, it is what it is at the end of the day. The next video is probably going to be a Gen X deck profile. I have pretty much all the cards I need for that deck, and although that deck is most likely Rogue because it's so weak to interruption like Imperm and stuff like that, at least I can run freaking hand traps, bro. I miss my hand traps, dude. That's the one thing, that's the one takeaway I had from playing this deck, is that I really like hand traps. I love them, in fact. But anyway, guys, that's it for me. Thank you for checking out the video. Sorry if it wasn't as, you know, optimistic as, you know, you would have liked it to be. It is what it is. We got to keep moving. Hope you have a good one. All right. Peace.